WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, often tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. I could also sometimes say single cask editions for Germany exclusives, and that's what I have today in my glass. Many of us might know Douglas Laing. We might know the old particular single cask releases, and here we have the Fanatical About Flavour single cask, single malt Scotch whiskey from Glenrothes, 16 years old. Now this is Whiskybase number 222678. Look at that color, yay! So over here in Germany we talk about people who drink dark whiskeys because they like that color. Now we'll see if I like this color or not. Now this was distilled, because it's single cask, you know, March 2006. And we know that this was, bottled in August of 2022. 16 years old in a sherry butt. So the Casknumber DL for Douglas Laing, 16501. 204 bottles, not really enough for a sherry butt if you ask me. So a sherry butt usually will have 500 liters. And if we do very, very brief math, it's 200 times 0.7 is 200. Okay, 140 liters from 500. I think this is a partial cask. Personal opinion, who knows if I'm right. And it's bottled at 55.3%. Non-chilled filtered, no color added, cask strength. Yay! So, what am I going to compare it to? If you know my channel, I always compare it to something. Look, it's an old particular single cask for Germany from 2021. This was part of the so-called Spirit Animal series. And this was a 16-year-old Glenrothes. And this is Whiskybase number... hey, why did you skip down here? Whiskybase number 193524. So this was distilled in May of 2004. So let me go back here. May 2004. Here we have, March 2006. This was bottled in April of 2021. This was bottled in August of 2022. So then we have here 56.3%. Also a single barrel sherry butt and DL 14701. And we had 250 bottles. Even 250 bottles is half of a cask if you ask me. So I'm sure that this is going to appear someplace else as well. Wait a second. I could actually go online and find out where else this was. All right, the cask number has to remain the same, so it's 14701. So this was, now I'm really confused. So the 14701 was from Simon Brown Traders, not really. Oh, that was Whiskybase number. All right, so nope, hasn't appeared anyplace else. Let me very briefly check if the 16501 has appeared anyplace else. So Einfügen, which is of course here too. The Glenrothes, 16 years old. Macallan, nope, nowhere else either. All right. So the interesting thing is, this cost me last year, 16 years old, cask strength, single barrel, 119 euros. This cost me this year 155 euros. So 35 euros more, that's more than 20%. Inflation at the moment is only 10%. So that's a lot of money. Now, the colors. Look at the colors. I don't see any difference. Do you? They both look this has a little bit more of a brown. This has a little bit more of a red moment. Now, sherry butt means sherry butt. It can be anything. All right, it could be it could be Oloroso, it could be Pedro Jimenez, it could be Moscatel, it could be here Fino, and it could be a rejuvenated sherry cask, which means they poured literally 10 liters of sherry into the cask, swished it around a little bit, maybe let it set for a week or so, poured out whatever's left, maybe, and then added their whiskey. Sherry butt. All right, so we don't know. Now, they're both from Douglas Laing. They're both from Glenrothes. They're both from, in Germany, the importer. Extra just for them, the Bremer Spirituosenkontor, BSC. And so let's just try them and see what happens. On the nose. For me, this is old sherry. I like. Now, there are different types of sherry. When I say old sherry. Now, today, especially with a lot of our finishing, we're going to have casks that are created for the whiskey industry, and they have the minimum amount of age of sherry in them. Now, this sherry will never be bottled as sherry. It will be bottled maybe as a sherry vinegar. It might be actually used time and time again and just poured down the drain. There is more money to be made in the cask than there is in the sherry itself, which is mind-boggling. All right, so there are, I call them syrup sherry casks. They use an extra thick type of sherry to really coat the insides of those sherry hogsheads usually. Hogsheads are cheaper to make than a butt, and they have more surface contact. Therefore, for finishing, they actually do more in less time. And so often we'll have we'll say a sherry finish. It won't even identify if it's Oloroso or if it's Pedro Jimenez or if it's Manzanilla or if it's Amontillado. It'll just say sherry. And sherry just means from a certain region and not much else. So this is old school. This is the way 16, 20, 25 years ago they used to do it. I love this. This is dark plums. This is leather. This is a little bit of a dark honey. This is good. This, on the other hand, it smells almost like Play-Doh, little plasticine. It smells artificial, it just smells off. Same distillery, same single cask for Germany from the same importer. And yet these are fundamentally radically different whiskeys. And it has all to do with the casks that were used. Now, Douglas Laing is big enough, I assume, making an ass of you and me, I assume that they are big enough that they can actually have quality control on their casks that they purchase before they put the spirit in it. When I buy a cask in Scotland or someplace else here, I'm not big enough. I buy what already has been filled. I have not yet, maybe I'll do this one day, I have not yet said, hey, here's my cask, fill it for me. Maybe one day I'll have enough sway in the industry to do that. But at the moment, I can go to a distillery in Ireland, I can go to a distillery in Germany and say, hey, I'd like to have this, this, and this. And they will either say, yes, we filled this up last week or whenever, or we can fill this up for you. Here's the specs and yes or no, price. And it's great. And I trust them to give me the best possible cask. Douglas Laing should be big enough to actually control and be able to check the quality of all the casks before they're filled up. This, beautiful. This, I'm not sure. And the second thing that should be checked and also be able to pick and choose is no one made Bremer Spirituosenkontor bottle this Glenrothes 16-year-old for Germany exclusive. But I hope someone picked this one and said, this is the best one I've ever had. Bam! I want this. And those are some of the problems we have, all right? So when, where, and how do I buy my casks? And when and how do I decide which cask should be bottled for my country? All right. So let's try this. We are talking about cask strength 55.3%. Cheers. Mm. Wow. I really like this. This is what I'm looking for in a good sherry bomb whiskey. It's got the alcohol, 55.3%. It's got the age, 16 years of age. It's got the flavor profile. This is not a short finish. This is, if I understand everything correct, a full 16 years maturation in a sherry butt. Um, oh, and it's got that dark plum moment. It's got that leather moment. It's got a little bit of a honey. It's got a little bit of a waxiness in there. It's got a little bit of a cinnamon spice. It's got depth and complexity. Now, what it doesn't really have is a lot of transitions. It comes in, and then there's a little bit more of that wood fruitiness. There's a little bit of the alcohol, and then you have that nice wood spice left over. But that is a ringer of a whiskey. I really, really like it. One person so far in Whiskybase has put some of their tasting notes on here, and I'd like to pick some of theirs. They say caramel, toffee, fudge, um, espresso. I don't get the espresso, but I do get a little bit of chocolate at the end. Real cacao powder. A little bit of black tea, oily. Manuka honey. And even towards the end, it's a little bit of a sweetness, but not really sugar sweet. It's like a syrupy type of sweet. Um, mm. That's a B plus whiskey for me. I remember I opened it up in my German video just half an hour ago, poured it, tasted it with B plus, and I was like, oh wait, maybe it's only a B. I had a little bit of water, tried it again, B plus. This is fantastic. I, at the moment, own 3 of the 204 bottles. I'm going to sell one to one of my friends. I shared this one. I think I'm going to keep one just for myself. And that's the little bit of our problem, or for a tasting. Let's just call it for a tasting. I'm going to put it in a tasting one day and say, look at this. This is how a sherry whiskey could be. This is a contender of one of my top 10 whiskeys of the year at the moment right now. I really, really, really like that. And so, by the way, this came out in a newsletter on the 29th of November, 2022. I ordered on the 29th of November, and it was delivered on the 21st of December. Yeah, what can I say? It took them almost over 3 weeks from the order to the delivery right before Christmas. Now, I'm not complaining. I'm not, because I had exactly the same problem. I received a pallet of whiskey at our bonded warehouse, and okay, I had it. I was able to use my sway and get 2 cases real quick for a whiskey fair. Sold out immediately, and I was like, okay, I'm going to put this out there before Christmas, and maybe we can get a couple bottles in the hands of people. The bonded warehouse had a little bit of a booking mistake, and so it took them 2.5 weeks to sort that booking mistake out, so I could actually order new cases. And by that time, it was right before Christmas, and I sent out the news shot, the email shot to all my whiskey partners here in Germany, the stockists, I think it's called. And basically, I received the message back from quite a few of them saying, before Christmas, Jason, sorry. We'll order in January, but not now. And so it's like the week before Christmas. Let's wait till the week after Christmas and we'll work this out. And so I'm very, very happy to be the first person, at least I can notice in Germany, who's actually done a video about this bottle. And I thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly recommend it. Value for money, C minus. Why? Because in my life, I had a pain threshold to pay money for a bottle of whiskey. It started out at between 30 and let's just say 40 euros. It's like, oh, paying more than 30 or 40 euros for a bottle of whiskey, that's like crazy. I'm going to drink this stuff. That's so expensive. And then it was like between 50 and 80 euros. I was like, it's crazy to pay more than 80 euros for a bottle of whiskey. And then it was like that magical 100 mark. For us, it's 100 euros. UK pounds, American dollars. It's like, I can't pay more than 100. This is 155 euros 90. All right, so if you go for one of my rules of my thumb, 10 euros per year, it's okay. It could be 160 euros, all right? So, of course, I liked 120 last year much better, but hey, 155, inflation and whatever else we have at the moment going on, energy and so on. But that's going to really be a deal breaker for most people I know. They're like, yes, Jason, I'm willing to pay 80 euros for a bottle. But this is two bottles of 80 for one bottle of this, basically. That's just too much. Is it worth it? Yes. Does everyone have that type of money? No. Should everyone be paying 160, 55 euros to buy a bottle of excellent whiskey? I'm going to say no. There are other things out there, and I'm going to name something. Unfortunately, I don't have the bottle. Glenrothes Whiskey Maker's Cut. Also 53%, somewhere around there. Over here in Germany, I think 55 euros. Amazing whiskey, yummy whiskey, very, very good whiskey. I would much rather have you go and spend your money on that, a Glenrothes, than an independently bottled single cask version of a cask strength whiskey that you will never find outside of Germany, outside of a few shops in Germany. So I'm sure the 204 bottles are going to go very, very quickly, especially after I start ranting and raving and saying one of my best whiskeys of the year. All right, yeah. There's a Ralphie effect in the world, and I have a little bit of a whiskey Jason effect in Germany. All right, I can sell 50 bottles of something excellent often, and if there's only 200 left, 200 in total, that does put a dent in the amount of bottles out there. All right, very, very good. Thank you very much for watching. My question of the day, I mentioned Glenrothes, I mentioned the Whiskey Maker's Cut. What other old sherry bombs can you recommend? Or what other Glenrothes products, independently bottled or original bottlings, can you recommend? Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for liking, subscribing, sharing, telling others. And oh, I didn't even try this. Do I have to? I did not like it last year. I do not like it this year. It's like Play-Doh. It's like plasticine. It's artificial type of. It's almost like an artificial type oil paint. Bad cask. Bad cask. Excellent cask. And that's really the problem that we have with single cask. They can be wonderful and they can be terrible. And from the label, you can't tell. From the price, you can't tell. You can only tell liquid to lips, trying recommendations to others and enjoying their suggestions. All right, now we're at the end. Whiskey Jason. Bye bye.